Welcome to my first video. This is a weekly vlog, so this is what I'm calling Drafting Diaries Episode 1, and I'm really happy that you've stopped by. Thanks for joining me on my first video on this YouTube journey that I'm starting today. So, things that you will find in this vlog: coziness, a mini garden tour, writing updates. I am starting a new book in this vlog, so you are here from the beginning, and I will take you along as I complete this first draft and beyond. Other things in this vlog: I go figure skating, I give you a little bit of insight into my life as an editor, just basic fun times ahead. Good morning. It is Monday, April 7th, and I am working from home today. Spring energy always fuels my creativity, and I tend to always draft new projects in the spring. I've only ever written one full draft of a book, and that was 2 years ago. And I started writing that on March 31st. On March 31st this year was the exact day that I felt the inkling to start drafting again, and I opened up my project. So there's something about this time of year that really gets my creative juices going. Not surprisingly. I mean, spring, everything's coming back to life. My creativity is coming back to life. I tend to take a break in the winter, but the spring, things really start going. So I got the idea for this project several years ago, probably 3 or more years ago at this point. And I had tried writing it, and it didn't happen. I've got so many abandoned projects, it's unreal. But I'm hopeful that this will be the second full manuscript that I complete. And so far, so good. I only started yesterday, and I've only written the prologue. But it was probably the easiest writing session that I can remember having in a very, very long time. It just flowed out of me. It felt like easy. I wasn't trying so hard. And that brings me to one of my main goals this year when it comes to life, which, writing is a big part of my life, so it applies here as well. Something that it's kind of an oxymoron because I'm trying not to try so hard. Something that I have struggled with for longer than a decade is overthinking things. I have historically overthought every single thing that I've ever done. It was what I thought would get me what I want. I have finally learned that overthinking things really just gets things all twisted up. It gets overcomplicated. My brain gets foggy. I lose sight. That's why I have so many unfinished manuscripts, is because I overthink it so much that eventually I lose it. It slips out of my grasp, and I can't get it back. Something that I'm really going to be intentional about as I work through this draft is to let it flow, to not think too much about it. I'm gonna just have fun, because why else would I put myself through writing a book, which I'm assuming if you're watching this that you are a writer and you understand how much work, how much investment of your time and your energy it is to write a book. It's a lifelong relationship. It's a lifelong journey. And everyone's journey looks different. Why else would I do this to myself if I'm not having fun? I'll talk more about what this project is at some other time. Right now, I just wanted to check in, start this vlog. It's the first vlog on my channel. But much like having so many incomplete manuscripts, I also have so many uncompleted vlogs. I have tried to start this YouTube channel so many times over the last 5 years, and each time I try, I get closer and closer to hitting publish. Hopefully this time is the charm. If you're watching this, yay, I finally did it. I wanted to pop in here and show you where I'm at with the project so that we have a sense of, progress. I draft in Novelpad. I have 504 words so far in this project, which is awesome because if you see here, my goal on each of my writing days is 476 words. So first day, and I was ahead of schedule. Pretty cool. This drafting schedule is what worked for me last time I was able to finish a draft, so I'm just going to stick to it because it seemed to work. I started my project yesterday on April 6, 2025, and my plan is to be finished by July 31st, 2025, and I will write on Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. I will take Tuesday and Fridays off. Hi. So it is 2:21, so I've been writing for a little bit in and among, work tasks and such. I've written 336 words so far, so almost to the daily goal. But I wanted to talk about the experience of first drafting and what that means to me. Like, what is my process for writing a first draft? What do my first drafts look like? To me, a first draft is really about laying the base coat for the novel. It's very large strokes. I don't force any details that aren't naturally coming to me. So they are, sparse. There are some areas that are more dense and have more details or dialogue. Whatever I'm able to see and hear of the scene, I lay it down, but I don't squint. I don't force myself to go beyond what I can't naturally see right now. So that's what first drafting is to me, and it's really fun because after imagining your book world and characters for however long it takes you to conceptualize and brainstorm an idea, but then once you start writing the first draft, it's the first time, at least for me, that I'm actually in that world and experiencing it. I'm working on the opening image right now. I feel like I've chosen a good opening image. So far, it feels very, like a solid choice for the story, that it would start here. Although there is a prologue, and I know there are like mixed opinions about prologues and whether or not they should be in stories or not. But you know what? I don't care. That's one thing with this overthinking and trying to let go of overthinking. Like, everyone is going to have an opinion, and everyone's opinion is going to be different, and like, who cares? I want a prologue. I'm gonna write a prologue. It feels like it's authentic to the story. I'm not trying to shove it in there and it doesn't belong. Like, this is how the story is unfolding for me, and people can take it or leave it. So anyway, though, this is the opening image for the present day in the story. My prologue is a flashback, which I don't know, maybe that's even more of a controversial take, that I'm including a flashback in a prologue. Like, maybe there are people who are, disgusted by the fact that I've done that, but whatever. So, opening image. I'm nearly done laying the initial foundation for this scene. The initial layer that I've started for this opening image currently doesn't have any dialogue. I have like an idea of the kind of dialogue that will be added later, but I haven't written actual dialogue. Most of the time, my initial layering is like plot and a little bit of character. I'm trying not to force myself into this idea that I have to know everything about my characters before I even start writing the story. I used to think that I needed to do that because I thought, if I'm putting these characters in a scene, how do I know what they'll do in that scene if I don't know who they are? So I felt like I needed to figure that out before I started writing. But something I've learned over the years is that you need to have a basic idea of who the characters are, and enough about them that you can start to understand how they would react to certain situations and, things like that. But you don't have to know everything before you place them in the scene. Putting them in the scene and playing with them there is actually how you get to know who these characters are. So that's what I'm trying to do here. I've got my main character in a situation where she is interacting with the town. This is like a small town setting. So it's a town hall meeting, and she has a specific goal that she's there to accomplish. But things are, getting in the way, and I'm hinting at, or I'm showing evidence for her like main struggle that she's going to work through and begin to overcome throughout the story. So I'm laying the groundwork for her character arc. I'm laying the groundwork for the plot, and I'm also introducing readers to the setting and the town, because the town is a really important aspect to this story. It's a small town romance. One of the charming qualities of a small town romance is the setting in the town and the neighbors and just the vibes, Gilmore Girl vibes. This story is definitely wanting to give Gilmore Girl vibes. So why not start the story in a town hall meeting? Anyway, I'll continue working on this, and I'll probably finish up laying those initial pieces of the opening image today, and I'll call it a day. I try not to push myself too far on any given day. I am autistic and I have ADHD, and so I've really had to figure out how to create more of like routines and habits around the things that I want to incorporate into my day. And so sticking to more bite-size goals over a long period of time works better for me than to try and just, willy-nilly sit down and write for however long I can and get as many words as I can. That does not work for me. So little bits over a long period of time. Typically my goal when I sit down for a writing session is one, to hit the word count goal, which is a very reasonable word count goal for this project. It was 400 some words. That's a reasonable thing to ask me to do on a daily basis. I'll keep working on the opening image, and then I'll call it quits. And I think once I'm done with that, I have some more, of my day job work to do. But it's a pretty light day. It's a pretty slow day. I'm an editor for a research company, and we publish different reports every single month. Right now we're kind of in an in-between publication cycle phase, so I don't have a whole lot going on right now. So I will likely have a little bit of time that I'll be able to read a little bit. I've kept up with a daily journaling practice over the last few years, and I try to do it in the morning, but I will write in my journal all throughout the day. I carry it with me wherever I go, and anytime I get any story ideas or thoughts that I want to capture in writing, I will get my journal out and write them down. I think that as a writer, keeping a journal is really important, at least for me, because my brain, I can never turn off my writer brain, and I always want to capture those bursts of inspiration or ideas because the odds of me remembering them later on are pretty low. So I like to capture memories and thoughts and ideas and musings in my journal on a daily basis. So that's what I'm doing here. It's the morning, and I often sit down and I don't have much to say. I don't have much to write, but as I start, things just flow out of me. And so it didn't really happen this morning, but that's okay. Good official morning. We are back at my desk at home. The roads to work are still flooded, so I am working from home again today, but that's okay. I like working from home, but I do have more editing work on the schedule today, and I have a couple of meetings today in the draft. Technically, it's not a writing day because if you recall yesterday when I showed you my writing schedule, Tuesdays and Fridays are non-writing days, but often on non-writing days, I will still write if I feel the urge to, because inevitably there will be at some point a writing day that I don't feel like writing. And so I like to make up for those days on off days when I feel creatively inspired. So I'm feeling like I will probably write today. And the next beat that I'll be hitting, which will be scene 2 in chapter 1 in the current layout of things, that could definitely change and most likely will. But I will be working on the meet cute today, which I've only really started thinking about what that will be this morning as I was getting ready. I'm not really sure what will unfold. What's interesting in this story is that the two main love interests, they already know each other. So this is a sister and brother's best friend love story trope. And so they grew up together. And so they already know each other, but they have spent over a decade apart at this point, and they are reuniting. So that's what the meet cute is in this story. I don't know when I will be doing that today. I have my first meeting at 11, and right now it's 9:50, so I've got a little over an hour, and I'm probably not going to work on it right now. And then after my 11 o'clock meeting, my next meeting is 4:15. So I don't know. I'll just see how I feel. I might work on the draft during like my lunch hour after my 11 o'clock meeting, or I might wait until this evening after work. I don't know. We'll just see how it unfolds. But I'm going to take you along for the day again today. We'll just see how the day goes. It's another beautiful day. The sun is shining, although it's very cold. After all of those severe storms went through, there's, a cold front. That's how weather works. We had a warm up and then the cold front pushes it out and we've got the severe weather in between. So we're in the middle of a cold front. Like, it's pretty cold. All right, that's all for now. Hey, it is 1:48 and I have actually been working on my draft. The 11 o'clock meeting that I was supposed to have earlier got canceled 10 minutes before it was supposed to start, so worked on my draft for a bit at lunch, and I've added, let's check, 639 words today. So that's really exciting. They were really good words too. So I started brainstorming what the meet cute would be, and I figured out that beat. And in that process, I was able to uncover more for the opening image and the prologue. So I went through those and I added what I needed to add. And I'm now still working through the meet cute. I'm not quite done with that yet. I still have a little bit to write. I just got some editing stuff to do for work, so I gotta get back to work now. Like I said earlier in the vlog, I'm an editor for a research company. What that entails is a lot of copy and line editing in market research reports. So the company publishes at least 12 reports on a monthly basis and more quarterly and annually. So it's a steady stream of editing work that I'm doing for these analysts. And it's a really unique job that I've stumbled upon. I'm very grateful for this job because I think there are a lot of English majors who would jump at the opportunity to have a full-time editing job like this that gives me such flexibility and security in my income. So I'm very grateful for it, but I will admit that the editing work is a bit dry. It's a bit repetitive, but you know, I'm able to get into a flow with it, and I learn new things about the world and my craft. So it's a good opportunity. But one day I do hope to edit books. That would be the dream, but that's not here yet, so that's okay. Okay, it is 4:30 and I am finished with my words for the day. I got 714 words today, which is pretty awesome considering I hadn't planned on writing any. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I finished up the meet cute as much as I could at this point. I'm not swooning yet, but I think it's because the scene is like bare bones right now, you know, like first draft. And I think the swoon factor comes in later once I add more details and I add, you know, the chemistry between my two love interests. But so far I'm enjoying the story and I'm enjoying the process of not thinking too hard and just going with my gut and having fun and writing about the things that I want to read about. So yeah, so far so good. I somehow lucked out, and you know, I told you all that my 11 o'clock meeting was rescheduled, and so was the 4:15 meeting. So I got out of all my meetings today. I don't have very many meetings in my job, although they've increased over the years because I've taken on other responsibilities. I don't love the meetings. I think one of the reasons why I'm an editor is because I like to be behind the scenes and just like fiddling, I guess. I don't like I don't like being front and center, which is ironic given that I'm starting this YouTube channel. I am going to work today. The floodwaters receded enough that I am able to get to work. So I grabbed a matcha from my favorite local coffee place and I'm headed to the office, and I will likely have time to work on my draft in the mix of all of my work responsibilities. So I will try to capture that as best as I can, but since I'm in the office and I'm also like, well, not all of us, but I work in a cubicle area, so I will not be able to talk to you, but I might be able to film some stuff and do a voiceover or something. So anyway, morning. What a day. I had a really busy day at work, which was expected because tomorrow we are publishing our biggest report of the month. So the day before it publishes is when I do most of my editing. I did still get to write for a brief period of time during my lunch break. I captured a little bit of that. I was eating my sad adult lunchable lunch. I thought I keep a stash of gluten-free crackers at my desk because I am gluten-free. Not by choice. Gluten-free sucks, but my belly does not like gluten. But anyway, I keep a stash of crackers at my desk for occasions when I can't be bothered to really try very hard with my lunch, and I just bring like a Ziploc bag of cheese and lunch meat, and then, you know, I eat some cheese and crackers and whatever. So I did that today, but I had one cracker left in my box. So I essentially ate a big bowl of broccoli and some cheese and turkey. I did a little bit of writing during my lunch break. I think when I checked last, it was like 67 words. So really not much to talk about there. I did figure out what beats are going to be going into this next chapter, because I'm now starting on chapter 2, and we are moving into the theme stated and No Way number 1 beat. I'm using both Save the Cat and Romancing the Beat for my story. Romancing the Beat, obviously, for the romance plot, and then I use Save the Cat for the this like secondary external plot that's going on. So and I try to have at least one beat per plot line in each chapter, depending on how it goes, you know. So I have an idea of what I want to do in this chapter. So if I feel up to it later after dinner, I will work on some writing. But my brain feels so fried right now from all of the editing that I did. My brain just feels like a sponge that has been squeezed dry. So hopefully after I eat some dinner and watch some TV, I will be rejuvenated and I can get my words in. But you know what, if I don't get all my words in, it's okay, because remember, I got extra words in yesterday on my off day. So that's why I do that. For moments like these, for days like these, days like this. What else? I wanted to talk. Oh yeah, I wrote it on a Post-it. So something that I keep talking about in this vlog that I'm trying to do, or I'm working on with this draft, is to not think so hard, not to overthink my plot and my characters and, you know, everything that goes into a book. I'm trying not to overthink it. And that's all fine and good, but I feel like there will be probably some questions like, okay, but what about when your inspiration runs dry? Like, what about when you sit down to write and literally nothing comes to your mind? Nothing flows out of you. Do you just not write? or do you push through? And I feel like it's a delicate balance, right? Like, you hear people a lot talking about how you can't just rely on your muse or inspiration to write. That if you want to be a writer, you have to have, what's the word? You have to have, what is the word I'm looking for? You have to have, oh my gosh. Discipline. Oh my gosh. See, sponge wrung dry. That is my brain right now. Okay, so you hear people say that in order to be a writer or a successful writer, whatever that means, or, you know, in order to make something of your writing, you have to have discipline. And I agree to that to an extent. I think everything is a balance. Literally every crisis, every problem, every issue, every question, it always comes to balance. Balance is key. That is like, if I had a motto or a catchphrase, balance is key would be mine. That is my life. That is my life motto, balance. So yes, I think you have to have discipline, and that's why I have a writing schedule that is, you know, I write a little bit each day, and eventually those little bits add up. But on the other side of that, I think that if you're only relying on discipline and you don't listen to your creative inspiration, which I think is, you know, synonymous to the muse, then you're probably not going to have as, well, I won't say you can't write a good story, because every story is good to someone, but I feel like you can tell in the energy of a story if it was an inspired story or if it was just a disciplined story. I don't know if what I'm saying even makes sense. I'm just kind of rambling. But if you're asking me, what do you do when there's nothing that flows out of you, but you're trying not to overthink your story? The answer is, I look to what beats come next in the story, and I think about what would naturally occur next in the sequence of events for my characters. And then I try to combine the two. And the overthinking, where I cut myself off from overthinking, is that I used to conceive every possibility. Like, what are all of the options that I could do next in this story? And I would come up with like as many ideas as I possibly could, and then from those ideas I would choose which one I think would be the best option. And that process may work for some people, and if it does, then that's awesome. But it did not work for me. It just overcomplicated the process. It took the fun out of it. It made my brain hurt. It gave me brain fog, and then I would abandon the project eventually. Once I know what the next beat is and I think of what the character would do next, I roll with it. And typically that works. Sometimes I have to go back and revise it, but that's okay. That's what revision is for. When I get home, I'm gonna say hi and hug on my doggo and my husband, and we're gonna make some food. I am going to make some chili tonight, and then we're gonna watch something while we eat, because that's what we do. We don't have a dining room, we don't have a dining table, so we eat our meals on the couch while watching TV, and I absolutely love it. I would like to have a dining room eventually one day, but right now we don't. and that's okay. So I think there is a new episode of Gypsy Rose Life After Lockup, which, okay, that is like a guilty pleasure of mine. But you know what? I don't feel guilty about it. Like, I'm captivated by Gypsy Rose. I have no strong opinions about her either way. There are so many people who hate on her online, and I don't get it. Like, why are you exerting so much of your energy toward hate for this woman? Like, I know she made mistakes, but don't we all? And I'm not saying that, like, murdering your mom is synonymous with the average mistakes that, you know, we all make. But I do believe that everyone deserves forgiveness, and everyone deserves to live their life, to have a fulfilling life. I don't hate her. I don't love her. I am definitely intrigued by her. So I don't know if you care about this, but I'm talking about it. So I'm currently driving on the road that was flooded, and it's wild to me that a road can be so flooded and then all of a sudden it's not. I'm in Indiana, by the way. I don't think I've said that yet. I'm done now. I will check in later. Maybe. Okay? Don't hold me to it. But maybe hold me to it. I don't know. Bye. Good morning. It's Thursday, and Thursday means figure skating. I go figure skating on Tuesdays and Thursdays every week, if I'm able to. I wasn't able to go on Tuesday this week because I wasn't able to get there with the flood, but I am today, so that's exciting. I'll take you along with me as best as I can today. I'm on my way to work, and we meet again in the car. I am not sure how much writing I'll get done today because, like I said yesterday, we are publishing a big report today, so the morning will be really busy, and then I go skate at 1. The afternoon should be lighter, but I've got other stuff to do at work, so we shall see. It's Friday. Yay. Yesterday, I really wasn't able to get any writing done at work. It was a busy morning, and it was a stressful morning getting that report out. And I went skating at lunch, and then the rest of the afternoon was just kind of a flop. My brain was mush, so I didn't get a whole lot of writing done. I did get some writing done later that evening at night. I ended up going to bed at like 8 o'clock, and I laid in bed and wrote a little bit. I didn't meet the word count, but that's okay. I got like 300 and some words, and I added more to the meet cute, and I developed my female lead and my male leads, the two romantic interests. I established like what their individual misbeliefs are and why they are resistant to love, so that way I can challenge them and encourage them to grow and to fall in love throughout the story. So I did that, and that was important work, so it's okay that I didn't get the word count because I did important work. Then I just laid in bed and watched YouTube and fell asleep. So today's going to be another busy day at work. We have 2 reports that we're working on. One is like a special report, and then we have an annual report that I am on the team, and I'm actually writing a significant part of this report, and I have to work on that writing today. So I'm gonna just say right now that I'm not gonna get any of my book writing done today at work. I did not plan on filming, but I needed to come on here because I just had a realization about myself as a writer. So I'm finished with my work day, and like I said this morning, it was really busy and I didn't really have much time at all for my own personal writing endeavors. However, at the very last 15 minutes of the day, I had this spark of inspiration for my main character that I needed to get into the draft. And so I started playing and fiddling, and I ended up putting some words into the draft unexpectedly. I don't know how many, but doing all of that, learning about my main character, I was reflecting and I just had this realization. Something that I have struggled with just as a person is people pleasing, and being an autistic, lady, and at one point a young autistic girl, undiagnosed autistic girl, I learned from a very young age how to mask, and I thought that masking and people pleasing was the way to fly under the radar and get people to like me and feel safe. And that's a very common autistic experience, but I'm unlearning that programming. So I've been on an unmasking journey for the last several years, and what's interesting about unmasking, the further you get into that process, the more you realize how deeply its roots are dug into your being. That sounds really dramatic, but it feels that dramatic. I feel like I'm constantly unearthing parts of myself that had been hidden behind a mask for so many years, for most of my life. And the realization that I had today while working on my draft and my character development for my main character is that my masking influenced my writing for a really long time. I listened to so many readers' opinions, there are so many trends and perspectives and hot takes and, all of these opinions about what makes for a good story and what's hot right now and what's bad right now, like what are we sick of. And I take in all of that information, and I don't realize how it actually influences my writing and my creativity on a subconscious level. I'm not consciously thinking about all of those things, but it's showing up on the page. I've held myself back from writing different kinds of characters or different kinds of stories because of those things that I had heard. And what I'm doing with this project differently is that I'm allowing myself to just have fun. Like I said at the beginning of this vlog, I'm not overthinking it. I'm not questioning myself. I'm just doing what I want to do. And I think that's where magic is. Who cares? There's always going to be readers who don't like the stories that you're telling, but that doesn't mean that your stories are any less worth telling. There are going to be people who resonate and like reading your story, period. There is a person for every story. I had a lot to say, and then I said it all, and now my brain is empty. Talk to you later. We've reached the end of the video, my friends, and thank you for sticking around with me. I don't know how to end videos. If you enjoyed this video, you should stick around and subscribe, because My plan is to release weekly vlogs like this on Mondays. I'll see you soon.